Coke 600 week, an exciting week for anybody involved in racing. This is one of those races that you want on your resume that you have won. DJ, I'll start with you. What does it take to win this race?
Yeah, I think the willingness to be able to adapt to changing conditions. It starts late afternoon, the sun's still out. Totally different racetrack than what you are going to encounter 2 hours into the race. And then the next 2 hours after that actually become the fastest laps that you're going to run. And you're already 400 miles or so into this race. You're tired physically. It's just a physically and mentally demanding race to get the job done. But you really have to be willing and ready to adapt. And also understanding that if your car is not good early in the race, that's not the end of the world because it probably shouldn't be that good at that particular time if you're going to have a chance to win. So, it's just so difficult. But I always see the drivers and think of the drivers that are good with just hanging on in that first part of the race and then giving themselves a chance when things really matter towards the end, those last 150 miles.
Yeah, listen, it should be called the Coca-Cola triple header because it's almost three races. It's the first third of the race, it's the middle third of the race, and it's the last third of the race. And I agree, Dale. You just, that first third, you just got to keep yourself in the game. You got to be there. You got to make those adjustments. And this track constantly changes. Until we went to Indianapolis, this was the racetrack that I always felt was the most temperature sensitive, the most sunlight sensitive. It just constantly, you were searching, you were looking for some place to run. And it's a mental game. It is a physical game. Driving a race car is always going to be physical. I don't care how they drive or what they are or how they continue to change and evolve. It's always going to be physical. But this is a mental play. It's that mental endurance that you get in your head and you sit in that car before they ever crank the thing and you say 600 miles. 600 miles in a day and time when most people are going from 500-mile races to 400-mile races at a lot of places. This is still the 600. The only 600-mile race run in America. That's not an endurance race. It's one driver, one car, one team all day long. So to win the Coca-Cola 600, like Jeff said, it is a huge, huge thing for a driver to come out of here and do it. But you've got to be on top of that car all day long.
Yeah, and never change a 600, by the way. It's okay to shorten races, and we don't need 8 600-mile races, but we need one. And keep that history, keep that tradition. I think what's interesting going into this week is what kind of race are we going to get? The race last year was crazy. It was crash after crash after crash. It was a lot of sprint races. And you go into a 600-mile race, you're thinking this is going to be a lot of long runs, green flag pit stops. And what we saw was the exact opposite. We saw chaos. We saw short runs. Short run speed was king. You had to have it. We never really got into that race where we had tons of long runs like you would expect. So I think going into this race, just not knowing what to expect, I think that makes it really, really difficult, which is how racing is. That's how it should be. And what we've seen this year is like the mile-and-a-half races. They've been really good races. They've been competitive. They've been good. I think coming off of Darlington, that was a competitive race. Some heated drivers. But that's this time of year. There's going to be a lot of pressure to some guys that got to win. These guys trying to move their career along, to have a chance to keep racing. And it all starts, you guys know, all those conversations start about the Coke 600. That's when it gets going. But, we're talking about it, but who's going to win? Kyle, I'm going to make you pick first.
Oh, yeah, let me go first. So here we go. It is a race. To me, it's that race that kind of leans towards a veteran when you look at it and you think a guy who's been here, who's done that, and who knows how to pace himself. At the same time, I say that a lot of times, we've seen Jamie McMurray and Jeff Gordon win at a very young age, and kickstart their career in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to go with a guy that's been in the news a lot and everybody's talking about and says he needs to win. So I'm going to go with Ross Chastain. I think this would be a huge win for Trackhouse Racing and for Ross Chastain to be able to go over there and pull it off. We've seen those guys have speed all year long. So I don't see any reason that they can't come right down the road from the shop, unload that thing, and take home the trophy and the money.
Yeah, great choice. A lot of speed that he's shown and, the willingness to be as aggressive as he needs to be and wants to be. That's something that Ross isn't afraid of. My pick is going to be one that many people are going to pick, but I just, over the last 2 months in particular of racing, there's one car that's been showing up at the front, and he just won this past weekend. And Kyle Larson and his team, to me, they're going at a level that everybody else isn't for most of the time. They find themselves with an opportunity to win, and if he can stay away from Kyle's pick to win, then I think he has an even better chance to go to victory lane. But you talk about adapting to changing conditions. I think Kyle Larson does that as well as anybody, and I think he's going to win.
Well, if any of you guys follow our fantasy league, you know how bad I've been this year. And I got some ground to make up. Although this isn't a fantasy pick, I'm going for a long shot. I'm going to go Bubba Wallace. And the reason why is I look at what Bubba and his team have been doing as of late. They have been getting a lot of top fives. They've been running the front. And I think that the Coke 600 has the opportunity for a lot of variables to take place. More opportunities for bad pit stops, more opportunities for things that don't go your way. And sometimes through that, you get a guy that runs well, runs just well enough, and he can get that done. And I feel like Bubba Wallace and his team, they are running well right now. They got off to a slow start, but they've been running really well. They ran second in the All-Star race. So I'm going long shot, Bubba Wallace.
Like it.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.